Right, all this year, we have been celebrating America's 250th birthday by talking to people and organizations that are making a difference in our community. It's part of our Red, White, New America's 250 celebration. And today we have Carol Jackson, the Executive Director of Families Matter, not to be confused with Family Matters.
You got it.
Even though we all watched a little Family Matters back in the day.
Exactly.
So, Carol, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Let's get started with, I always like to start these things with a little bit of education, right? So educate me and us on what Families Matter is.
Families Matter is a faith-based, nonprofit organization working to strengthen families, change lives, and hopefully change the trajectory of some of the things that's going on in Memphis right now. So we're all about the family.
That's a very encompassing umbrella, right? That's huge. A lot.
It's huge, and we can't do it by ourselves. Yeah. That's the reason we have partners, we have collaborative people that work along beside us to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So we want to be out there for the families that we serve.
So let's talk a little bit about how Families Matter started and then kind of where we're at right now with the mission and the organization.
That's wonderful. That's an absolutely wonderful question.
Well, you know, they pay me for this.
Hey, I know, and I hope they pay you well.
Not well enough, but we're working on that right now.
Well, Families Matter was actually started in a church called Presbyterian Church. It's located on Poplar Avenue still, and there were some men that worked in that church and people that were collaborating with the church looking at the climate of Memphis back in 2004. And so they came up with the idea of starting an organization that would actually reach out to pastors, especially those pastors in underserved areas, to make sure that they got training as far as marriage ministries and things like that to assist their parishioners. The reason was because at that time, Memphis had the #1, wait a minute, let me restate that. Memphis, the infant mortality rate in Memphis was that of a third world country. And so these concerned citizens wanted to do something about that because so many young girls were getting pregnant but yet not being able to bring the babies to term. And so they wanted to help that situation, and they thought that perhaps creating marriage ministry type sessions would actually help, and it did help.
When you say that, it's just a group of normal citizens.
It was a pastor, a counselor, and they got different pastors involved. My husband and I were just moving here at that point from Denver. And I was looking for, if God was going to allow my heart to be broken to the extent that it was, what was my mission here in Memphis? And so I began to go with my brother-in-law as he attended a lot of those sessions and literally fell in love with the organization because I knew that that was something that I could really sink my teeth into. So many people tell me that I'm a salesperson, but I can only sell those things that I believe in.
Good. Well, I'm broke, so don't try to sell me nothing.
We'll talk about that later.
But when you're talking about an organization that starts really at the ultimate grassroots level.
Ultimate.
Yeah, it doesn't get any more grassroots than that.
Right, it doesn't.
And what's the growth been like since it began?
The growth has been spectacular. We've just been able to do so many things. One of the things that I learned, my nephew and my husband teaches the class in hospitals. The class is called Dynamic Dads. And I went into one of those sessions to just introduce them to the fathers. We had about 25 fathers coming into that class at Baptist Hospital.
That's good.
And so I went in to introduce them to the participants. And the class is one where no woman over 3 feet tall can be in attendance. So they could bring their babies.
Oh, I was going to say, you got a lot of 3-foot women out there?
Yeah, they could bring their babies, but they could not, I couldn't attend, their girlfriends couldn't attend, their wives couldn't attend. But on that particular day, I noticed that where they placed us, there was a little nook where I could open the door and close it as if I'd left and listen to the class. And so I stayed and listened. And what I heard just blew me away because so many of the fathers were talking about how if this relationship did not work, they would not stay with that mother, meaning they would not stay with that child.
Yeah.
And so I went home that evening and said to my husband, we've got to do something. We've got to do something about this, because fathers need to be in their children's lives. And he turned to me and he said, well, who's going to do that? Because do you know how hard it is to get fathers in classes? And I said, I do know how hard it is to get fathers in classes. So you're going to do it. You're going to be the one that, you're going to be the one that will help get this started. Because first of all, we were new to Memphis.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of people. I knew my husband. I could trust my husband.
Yeah.
And I knew that we could, even pillow talk would help the program. So that's how we started. We evolved from just marriage into fatherhood. Fatherhood is where we have landed pretty much, but it's also, we have prevention programs, and that is our intervention program.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we have to have, in my mind, we must have prevention as well as intervention. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You can't just prevent it. You got to start at the beginning.
You want to stop the bleed,
yeah.
right? And in order to stop the bleed, we have to have classes. We have to be able to train those young people that's coming up, that's watching some of these things happen, that might think that some of this is the way it should be in life, but we want them to understand that there is a better way.
What's the response been like to getting fathers? Because you're right. I mean, the idea, just when you say it out loud and say you're trying to get men to go to class, I don't even go to the doctor. You know
Exactly,
what I'm saying?
exactly. It's very difficult.
So how do you curb that? How do you get men into the classrooms, and have you been able to get a few?
We have. In fact, I don't have all of my data with me today, but we have a program right now that we're working that's called Affirm. It's A Father's Involvement Really Matters. It's a federally funded program that actually will end in October, so I'm looking for funding for the program. But with that program, what we were able to do is offer things. We offer, like, we call it milestones for participation. So they get paid for a participation in something, because the idea is to get them into the classes.
Yeah.
And so when they come in, if they need, they want a different job, we help them look for jobs. And so from 30 days, 60 days, 120 days, they might get a small milestone for that. The idea is to get them into the co-parenting classes, because that's where the meat is. And everyone that comes into the class after January 1st, 2025, it is a must that they take that co-parenting class. So they cannot do the other things without taking the co-parenting class, because that's what we want. We want them to learn about being a father, being responsible, and the value that they add to the family.
It's so difficult to stop a cycle.
Yes.
You know, and I think sometimes that gets lost in translation, because the older generation blames the younger generation,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But we don't talk about the cycle that led up to that.
Exactly.
So, and it sounds like that's what you guys are really trying to do.
That's what we're really trying to do. In fact, one of our master facilitators, Patrick Batson, has said many times, you know, we look at youth and what's going on in the streets, especially on our streets here in Memphis, and we think, what's wrong with the children? Where did we go wrong with teaching the children? And so what we're doing is making certain that those fathers understand their impact, the lack of, or the importance of them being involved in their children's lives. And so many times that has even an impact on the child's mother, because many of the fathers perhaps have not been married to the mothers. So we want to work also with the mothers to stop the gatekeeping. Because if he's not paying his child support, then she doesn't want him involved. Well, money in the child's mind is just something to spend. What the child needs and what she needs is an understanding of what that family needs, and for him to be supportive, whether he's married to her or not.
Yeah, so I'm a father. I have 3 boys.
Awesome.
And,
congratulations.
Well, thank you. They're amazing, beautiful young men. But I mean, I did not have a father growing up.
Exactly.
And so as a young man, when I decided I was ready to have kids, I always thought I want to be the dad that I never had.
Exactly. And I hear that story so many times. But you are pretty special in that, you know, you're
Wait a
just
minute.
really
Hold
special.
on. Did everybody hear that? Did you hear? Okay, all right, we can go now.
You're special in that. I did not. I didn't grow up with in fact, I still do not. And I'm seasoned. And I still do not
Did you say
know.
seasoned?
Seasoned.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that later.
I'm seasoned, and I still do not know who my father is. But there's a passion in me to help young people understand, especially people like you, your age, and a little bit older and younger, understand the importance of them being there for their children. You know, it's not like it used to be where the community helped raise the child. It's no longer that way. So today, that father's involvement is critical to the success of the child. We want children to grow up and not only be successful in their families, but also be successful for society and for themselves. We want them to know who they are, and more importantly, we want them to understand whose they are. Remember, I said we're faith-based.
Yeah.
So that means a lot to me as far as a child and a parent coming together and understanding God's purpose for their lives.
So I always say when, you know, as a young father, and I'm not as young anymore, but as a father, you know, I'm still learning.
Yes.
Right? You know,
We all learn,
every
right?
day I'm still learning something about how to be a better version of, because in your brain you think this is what a dad is.
Yeah.
But it involves so much more than just setting the rules and making the money or whatever, right?
It does. There's so many. There's little things that happened years ago. My grandson just graduated from high school, so this was several years ago. I went to Denver to visit my daughter, and he was going through their Catholic, and so he was getting ready to go through their, you know, that confirmation period. And we were standing in their laundry room, getting ready to walk out to the car. And his dad said to him, "Miles, when you sit down, unbutton your coat. When you stand up to go up front, button your coat." It was a training moment that had nothing to do with books, right? He learned from his dad, and so many times that's what children do. Hence, one of the reasons we see what we're seeing on the streets of Memphis today is because there has not been that example of obeying rules, understanding police, being respectful for all people. That's not been taught. So what we're so many times we run into is an incident where something happens and a child does not know how to deal with the anger. And I say, Mr. Diaz, what I say is that so many times it's not the anger that they're dealing with, it's the hurt.
There's pain in there.
The pain that has not been addressed, that they are now lashing out at an innocent citizen.
You're right. I mean, I can remember as a youth, you know, again, I didn't have a mother or a father. I was kind of given away as a young child. And I can remember just being angry, you know, and I was super angry when I was a child. And I mean, you're right. There came a point where I decided I was going to use my anger and pain to accomplish other things, but I could have easily went the other direction.
Wow, you and I should have a side conversation, because I was literally given away to somebody and fortunately she was amazing, but her husband did not want to adopt me. So I didn't have the father, and he unfortunately died when I was 7. So it was just my mom and I. However, that was my foundation. So many of the things that I probably have experienced some of the same feelings that you felt, because when you're given to someone and yet you know kind of who your parents are, I know who my mother was, but I didn't know my father. So it can go deep, and the pain can be it's like, what's wrong with me? Okay, it's what's wrong with me.
And so I can't imagine as a young as a young child, as a teenager, young teenager now, who maybe doesn't have that parental support.
Exactly.
You know, and they're just out living in the streets or doing their own thing, and all that pain and anger.
It's unfortunate, because when we first moved here, I told you my husband and I moved here from Denver in 2004, and my neighbor was a principal at one of the schools, and so I talked to his wife and I started subbing. That's how I kind of got acclimated to Memphis. And I met so many young boys that had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And so many times, if the mother or the grandmother received money for them, one young man, I remember, the grandmother would give him his money, and then he would have to find couches to sleep on every night. So imagine what that said to that young man, because I can't stay at grandma's house. I don't know where my mom and dad are, or perhaps they're in prison. But I'm out here expecting to get along by myself.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Very difficult. So to get back to the mission that you have, all of this that we're talking about really helps is the fuel to the fire for what you guys are trying to do.
What we're trying to do.
Systematic change.
Exactly. That's what we want to do. Right now I'm in a prayer group with an organization where we're talking by the year 2035, so many of the ills in Memphis will be changed, because Memphis at one point was a wonderful city. I know years ago I would hear about how it was one of the cleanest cities in the nation, right?
Yeah.
And so there's all these things, the crime that's here. But I really believe that a lot of it has to do with the mere fact that fathers are not involved in their children's lives. Like I said, whether we want them to be married. We want that connection, family unit to be there. But we understand things happen. And the other thing that father being in that child's life, I talked about the infant mortality rate. One of the reasons girls so many times will abort, the body will abort the baby when the girl is under a lot of stress. And when a young man impregnates her and then he walks away, then that causes tremendous stress in that young lady's life. So we're just we are looking at how we can help people through education. Scripture, my people fail for lack of knowledge. And so that's what we want to give, is the knowledge of what happens when you are not there versus what happens when you are there.
So if people want to get involved, if they're watching this right now and they're saying, man, like that is a mission I can get behind, how do they get involved?
They get involved by calling us. We have, our office number is 901-260-8520. And then for the Affirm program, that office number is 901-445-0115. And then you can always go to our website, which is www.familiesmattermemphis.org.
Familiesmattermemphis.org.
Yes, always. And we're there. We want people to come in. I would much rather, I will go to them. In so many instances, I take a team to people that want to hear about what we're doing, because I think what we're doing, I know what we're doing is so important. Because fathers need, and mothers need fathers involved in their children's lives, whether they're still together or not.
And so can people, what are the different ways people can get involved? We're talking about monetary donations, volunteering, what are you looking for?
All of that at this point, because we need volunteers for our programs. We do programs in school. We have a program called the 12 Principles of Manhood. And that's where we go into, that's one of our prevention programs, where we go into schools talking to young men, and now we're talking to young girls about how to be who God has called them to be. Those 12 principles that mean something. Today I will, for a man, today I will stand to be a man. Today I will respect women because my mother is a woman. So we try to make it to where it's relatable. And so that they can easily understand it. So it's observing the principle, practicing the principle, and possessing the principle. So they have to do all of that in order to move forward in that class. Then we have another class called Connections, where I know the instructor with that would love to have people come in that can talk to what he's talking to the students about. And so that would be awesome for us. And then we have that dynamic dance class that I told you about that's at Baptist Hospital and some of the other hospitals. We're getting ready to go to Regional 1. Before COVID, we were in all the hospitals, but we had to redo things. So we're doing that again so that young women that's given birth can send the fathers to the class before they actually leave the hospital with the babies. So the fathers begin to understand how to diaper, how to swaddle, how to burp, how to care for mom during that time.
all of those are important. I know my first go around was messy. I was a pro by the third one, but I was a rookie in the first one.
Exactly.
Now, you mentioned that you guys have an event coming up this week as well.
We do, and thank you so much for asking about that. It's
I'm a pro.
called.
What can I say?
Are you coming? I need you to come.
I will be on vacation this
Oh
week.
my goodness! It's called Collaborate and Celebrate. Collaborate because we collaborate with so many different organizations here in Memphis and Shelby County. Celebrate because we want to celebrate those things that all of us have accomplished. And we're highly going out for all of our programs this time. We will have a fireside chat with a couple of fathers that's been in the Affirm program. And then we have a young lady that's coming who actually was at, I think was Overton High School, our young man that goes in and talks to them about connections, how to make the right connections, your relationships, whether you're sliding rather than deciding. She's going to come in and talk about how her interaction with him coming into that class stopped her from going down a path that she should not have gone down. And now I think she has a bachelor's degree in health science, and she's going to get her master's to teach. And then we have another young man that's coming in that's going to talk about how the principals got him on the right path. So those instructors that work with those children in order to help them get to a different place is what we're going to highlight.
Beautiful. And when and where is this event? Does it cost? All that jazz.
There is no cost. There is no cost. Of course, this is a fundraiser.
Okay.
It's a fundraiser. It would be a Second Presbyterian Church, which is located at 4055 Poplar Avenue. And like I said, you can call or go to the website. We have all types of information about it on the website.
And you'd love to see as many people as possible.
I want the building packed out. It is a dinner. So if we run out of food, I will not be hurt because we're ordering a lot. We're ordering a lot of food, but I would much rather not have enough food and have more people because I want people there. I want them to see the impact of how Families Matter has evolved over the years and what we're doing to make Memphis and Shelby County a place where you and I want to raise our children.
Absolutely. Could not have said it better, and I couldn't end on a better note. You were amazing, Ms. Carroll, just so you know. Just to recap, Families Matter is having an event this weekend, or this Thursday. You're going to be able to find the information on the screen as we've done it. Ms. Carroll Jackson, I want to thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And educating me and everybody about this mission and this program and how people can get involved.
Thank you.
Again, it's very important.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. All right, so again, we've been really highlighting people, companies, organizations that have been making a difference in Memphis and really trying to really go above and beyond. And I think it's very safe to say that Families Matter is one of those programs that's going to make a huge difference here in Memphis. So we are happy to celebrate them on our America's 250 Red, White, and You. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ruben Diaz.